putting the pressure on him. So, JayDee, you get to give us your power rankings for first-time winners.
Well, first of all, congratulations to all of these teams for making it this far, because there's no easy feat. Whether you get to the quarterfinal of a World Cup, you should always be grateful for making it this far and also showcase that there's great building blocks going forward. But a lot of these nations, in terms of the first-time winners, are in different stages of their career. So I'm going to turn around and talk about the team that's fourth, first of all, and they've been associated with mediocrity probably throughout their whole existence, which is Switzerland. Congratulations so far. We've seen the way that you've grinded and pulled so many things out, whether it was a shootout against Colombia or whatever else that's happened throughout every stage of this competition. We've seen some good parts of Switzerland. We've seen some bad parts. But mediocrity is probably the way to describe where they are. Now, let's not get it confused. This is the furthest they've been for a long while. I'm talking about dating back to 1954 as to what they want to do, the establishment, and where they want to go and how much further they can go. And I look at this team and they're riddled with a lot of experience, especially the man that's sitting there with a smile on his face in Granit Xhaka, who seems to be always rolling back the years. But again, unfortunately, we're going to be clouded with mediocrity when we look at this team, because they have gone further than many probably would have predicted them to. But this right here is probably where the tournament ends in terms of the power ranking. So I do have Switzerland right here, probably crashing out at this stage. But again, it's all relative to conversations around the nations, and I would element and hark to say that this is probably a tournament of success for Switzerland where they've been so far. Do I want to get my teammates involved now, Claudia, or do I want to rattle all the way through?
I'll jump in on Switzerland, because I think what's interesting. I'll just say this very quick about Switzerland. They're sneaky good, and they're the one team where I think maybe the most unknown for a lot of people that are watching. They tied Qatar in their first game 1-1, and everybody thought, oh, there's no chance. But they absolutely dominated Qatar. Qatar scored late, like past the 90th minute. Then they take on Bosnia. They again go up 4-0 in that game and give up a late goal. And then they take on Canada. They're up 2-0, comfortable. They give up a goal with like 15 minutes left. They've only given up those 3 goals, and they all happen really late in the game.
They do.
Otherwise, clean sheets. This team is a little bit better in every line of the field than I think people give credit for, because you're not as familiar with the names. They're going to give a good test. And Argentina struggled with Cabo Verde. You know, they struggled with Egypt.
They've struggled against defensively organized teams, and Switzerland's very organized. They understand how to play behind the ball and to play without the ball as well, which could give them a test.
I think, yeah, this could be a tough test.
Can I just counteract by the test and who answers the examination? His name is Leo Messi.
I'm not saying Switzerland's going to go and win.
Discussion there. All right. But since we're talking about teams
go with Argentina then.
Since we're talking about teams that have done so well and have kind of grown throughout this tournament, I think another team that has, I think, exceeded expectations to this point, because especially the way that they started so poorly, has been Belgium. And I have Belgium in third right now, only because I think we had so much expectations for them. We have so much hype around this Belgium team, and that's probably a little bit of nostalgia on what we experienced in 2014 to 2018 and what we've seen in this golden generation. But Claudia described it perfectly. They're squeezing everything they can out of what's left out of these tired legs. Yes, Kevin De Bruyne, Romelu Lukaku, Timo Courtois, they've all been there, seen it, done it, and tried, and it hasn't really worked out exactly how they wanted it to. Even that man right there smiling, Leo Trossard. A lot of these are experienced players, definitely into their 30s, that are probably at the last legs in terms of what we expect from the Red Devils. There's been moments where I've been impressed by them, right? There's been I would say the performance against the US, which Jimmy Conrad is now giving me a side eye for, which naturally so, because I think they had a little bit extra motivation. I think their celebration kind of proved they had a little bit of an extra motivation going into this one. But I'm going to level it out with what I've also seen against Egypt and Iran, which also tells me that they're not as connected as they want to be in the games where they should win. Now you're going up against a test, because everybody's going to be a test at this stage of the competition. And I just think I've seen enough when it comes to Belgium to tell me that they haven't quite got the nuances or the confidence in their management in terms of their squad selection, and also what their fluidity in terms of their system is, to tell me they're going to progress further than this. So it's going to be another element of disappointment for Belgium because of the expectation that's around them. But the word that I would give them is, when I look at their squad and I look especially at their bench and some of those starting players, transition is important, and they need to start incorporating some of the newer, younger players in their youth system and start pushing out some of those older heads.
Yeah, I will say that Rudy Garcia, their manager, who I agree with you, didn't really have a good grip of the team. It didn't feel like maybe the players bought into what he was doing. He had a masterstroke for me against the U.S. He sat Kevin De Bruyne, who hadn't really looked entirely sharp this one. Maybe he's not fully fit. Lukaku had been coming off the bench anyway. Jeremy Doku not starting after he had a good performance against the U.S. in March was a surprise. And he went with guys that just like to run and work. So Raskin comes in from Rangers, Onana comes in, and now he tore his ACL. I think that's a big loss. Amadou Onana, I'm a big fan. He was doing a lot of work. I don't even know if we score a goal if he ends up starting and playing that whole game. So Vanaken comes in, and he's a little bit not as he does the work, but he can't cover the ground that some of the other players can. And Luca Bacchio came in. I thought he was excellent as well. And so if he elects to go with that same type of lineup, a team that's going to make someone work, I think you have to. I think you put a Kevin De Bruyne out there, he's not going to help you in those transition moments. Well, he can. But like when you're trying to press a Spain team, if you're not willing to do the work on the defensive side, they're just going to play through you. And so he needs all 11 players that are kind of having the ability and the health to track that. So I'm curious. I think they can cause some problems, but ultimately I think their race is going to be run here when they play Spain.
I think their race is going to be run against Spain as well, and it helps me to transition into someone else that I believe their race is probably going to be done at the next stage. And unfortunately, I know this is going to break a lot of hearts, and I don't want you to get upset with me, but the Moroccan community, just look at me and just listen to what I have to say. Atlas Lions, this has been an incredible transition from 2022 to where we are now in 2026. Jimmy alluded to it in the last bit. The gold medal that is alluded to you and has been given to you and christened to you, the under-21s tournaments and the under-20 tournaments that we've seen in terms of how you showcased yourself, and most importantly, the semi-finalists at the Qatar World Cup. But it's going to be the question mark going into this one, revenge or repeat. And we've seen this story against France last time round, and unfortunately I feel like we're going to see a repeat of the same situation, because this might be the best French team I've seen in terms of looking at the other two teams that made the finalists and how incredible they are going forward. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad team. That doesn't necessarily mean that Morocco haven't progressed so much over the last 4 years. But sometimes you just meet that team that has a little bit extra, a little bit more quality, and a little bit more of a decisive edge in the final third. And I just think France, everything that Morocco do brilliantly, France do, they're just a little bit better. Now, the changes that they've had in terms of their head coach, we saw that coming in, and I think Mohamed Webby has done a fantastic job of kind of stabilising this group. They don't know what it feels like to lose, whether that you give them that loss in terms of the AFCON final or wherever else they find themselves right now. The building blocks are right there for the Atlas Lions, but once again, I feel like they're going to find a team that is just a little bit too good for them when it comes down to decisive games. The quarterfinals is not a bad thing, especially coming off the back of the semi-finals in the last World Cup. So I'm always saying this, and I said this from the beginning, from now where they find themselves, Morocco will win a World Cup sooner rather than later. Maybe when it comes round and you're a host nation, you'll get that little bit of an extra buzz next time round in 2030, but you might find yourself just a little bit short this time around.
Yeah, 10-10, no notes. Keep it moving.
We're getting Lisa, we're getting a comment that says, I hope a semi-final between Belgium and Morocco. That's what someone's hoping for.
Wow.
Interesting. I don't know if we're going to get that one. I want to know, JD, you have Morocco ranked, what is this, third in your, or fourth in your rankings? Oh, second. It's going the opposite way. Would this be considered a failure if they get knocked out at this stage, or would it be success?
I don't think anytime you lose to France, you consider it a failure. That's my personal opinion.
I agree, but even though it's not necessarily as far as they made it 4 years ago.
I mean, just because you made it 4 years ago to a certain stage doesn't mean that's the same teams that you're playing now. I mean, the draw is always going to be favourable. Also, this is an expanded World Cup. It's a completely different sort of feel to it. Like, you've got an extra layer, an extra competition you have to go through. And also, like, I always look at success and failure as what were the variables coming into this one. You change your head coach just before, which is never a good building block in any situation, regardless if you feel like it's going to lead to better success on the pitch. I mean, the AFCON final we all watched in terms of, and we can make our own decisions as to whether or not it should be crowned champions, but my eye test didn't deceive me, and I know who won that. So all of the controversy in 2026 that Morocco have had to face, I think they would look at it and saying that we got to a knockout stage and we probably lost to definitely will be a finalist or potentially even a winner in this. We can't classify that as a failure in terms of where we're going in terms of the direction for the federation overall.
On the other side of this, if Morocco beat France, would it be considered an upset? Because we know this Moroccan team is good. We know what they can deliver.
Yes, because historically they've never beaten France before. And so there'd be a lot of historical context where I think that would be important too, and cultural context. Yes, it would be an upset. This France team is everybody's favorite. All of us, it's hard to argue, like, how are they not the favorites? And when you see them doing it, especially on the defensive side of the ball, we know they can score goals. I think what's interesting when I think about this France team and what Morocco would have to do, France will probably, outside of the Paraguay game where they had to kind of figure out a way to unlock a low block, they're good for 2 goals a game. So you walk into it going, we probably have to score 2 to just get them into extra time, potentially 3 to win it. And that's asking a lot of any team, including this Moroccan team that doesn't have their best attacking player in Ismail Saibari. So I just think it could be just one step too far for them in this particular instance. I agree with JD that the variables here wouldn't consider it as a failure. I do think, though, because this is a game of feeling and emotion, and I'm speaking from an American perspective, we had a great tournament, and then we feel really terrible about that last game based on how we performed.
Yep.
If we had lost and we went down fighting and we were scrapping and doing all those elements, I think we would feel a lot better about it.
Agreed.
So if Morocco goes out and has their one big lemon of the tournament and don't play well, then I think it could be considered a failure because they didn't punch above their weight, they didn't put themselves in a position to actually win the game. But I do think they will compete. I just think France has a little bit too much.
All right, JD, so no surprise then. At number 1, we have...
Norway. And let me explain to you why, because I'm not using my heart now, I'm using my head, and I'm recognizing in terms of where Norway are. I love exactly where Norway are. I love what they're building, and that man right there is looking like arguably the best forward in world football. He's so clinical, he's so edge, and I've described him already as really tactically disciplined in what he's portrayed. But it's not just him, it's the pieces that they have around him. The way that they have this, I would say, momentum right now, with Antonio Nusa, Martin Odegaard looks refreshed, Sorloth coming off the right-hand side, and not even what most people would say his preferred position is, but still giving his best in terms of for the team. This is a really organized team, really structured, and I've been watching them since the qualifiers, and what they did to Italy was a demonstration for how dominant they are. Bodo Glimt and what they did in the Champions League was a demonstration for how good the domestic football has been. But now going onto the main stage, going onto a world stage, and beating a team that is, not get it confused, struggling in terms of fluidity, confidence, and also against teams that do well in transition in England. I believe that there's an upset here, and I've been saying it from the beginning that Norway will go and probably finish as 3rd place within this World Cup. I know that kind of beats a lot of the question marks that's around them, but I have utter confidence in not only the clinical edge they have in the final third, but the way that they've managed their squad in terms of the fitness concerns around it, resting them in certain games, not exposing maybe tactics against France because you saw it in your own mind. That gave me a forefront that they actually believe that they could go a lot further in this competition people are giving them credit for, and I do believe that they will have arguably the biggest result in their country's history against England. And that 28-year wait in terms of making the World Cup is all justified, and all comes down to one evening. And when they deliver, I don't want any more question marks about whether or not Norway are here to play, because they have showcased over the last 18 to 24 months they're a serious contender, not just in European football, but in world football.
Yeah, we have a comment saying, I think Norway can do it all. And someone else saying, where did the comment go? Oh, no. Off the top of my head, someone said that Norway, out of all the teams that you've talked about, is the only one that's in their golden generation.
Yeah, I do believe they are. All of these players are in their peak. Martin Odegaard has just turned 26. Antonio Nusa is, I think, one of the young talent. I know a lot of people out here in world football are looking at young talent and asking themselves, where can we go and find a winger who can be decisive and also be unselfish in terms of in the final third? And he's one of those that should be on a lot of people's target list. And, I mean, Erling Haaland, I don't need to say anything about him. I mean, he really speaks for himself. 6'5", 200 and whatever pounds, and moves like a linebacker, but scores goals and makes it look like it's easy work. So, yeah, it's crazy work.
Yeah, I like your description of Norway. One note that I would add to that is Patrick Berg, who is the captain of Bodo Glimt, didn't play the first couple of games for Norway and now gets into the team, and he's such a tempo setter. Gets it, plays it, moves. Gets it, plays it, moves. That I think he's a nice partner in crime to Martin Odegaard, who's looking to make the final pass. So now Odegaard can pick up the ball a little bit higher up the field or in different pockets of space to then find that final pass, because he's got someone around him that just plays so simply and so consistently. I think that makes a big difference. My one concern for Norway is what winning in Azteca does for the spirit of the English team, and what kind of momentum, because that's something that hasn't been done. Nobody beats Mexico in Mexico, and hadn't been done in 13 years. Jude Bellingham had one of the most historic performances, we could argue, from an English player in quite some time. And what that is as a catalyst for them to, like, hey, maybe this is our tournament. Maybe that belief gets a little bit stronger, and maybe it is coming home. Now they got to take it one game at a time. But I love this matchup in particular because I think both teams kind of come into it feeling pretty good about themselves.
Can I counteract that really quickly?
Super
Please.
quick. You've got
You know what?
20 seconds.
We have like 40 minutes left in the show.
I looked at the adverse of the emotion of the Azteca, and sometimes, you know, you can hit your emotional peak in a tournament too soon. Like, I think Belgium hit their emotional peak against the USA. And I think England, what I watched in terms of those celebrations, told me that they hit an emotional peak. Now, you're right. It could go left, and it could be brilliant, and it could be building blocks to be like, confidence is really high, let's keep going. or it could be the opposite, and we never ever quite get there ever again in terms of the management of our minds, in terms of how to get there. Because I feel like they over-celebrated. My personal opinion, yes, the history was there with the Azteca, but at the same time, you should go and beat Mexico. If you're telling me you're going to go and win a World Cup, you should go and beat Mexico, whether that was in America, Canada, or Mexico. It doesn't matter. It's the same line, same pitch, even with the altitude. So, like, I just felt like there was too much emotion given for a team that should go out and demonstrate that consistently.
Sounds like a cynical English fan.
No, I'm just real. I'm just real.
And you know what else I can say? Norway, not only do they have their own fans behind them, they also have Mexican fans behind them.
Thanks for watching this video from Morning Footy. For all news and insights regarding leagues around the world like EFL, Serie, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.